that type of a person that, obviously doesn't have a Whole Foods level of success, what do you think they should be thinking about as far as their own wealth protection or wealth development?
Well, first, of course, if you want to create great wealth, the best way to do it is to own businesses, a business or businesses, and generally concentrated. And then that compounds, in a sense, over a long period of time, and that's how large wealth is built. If you look at almost all the super wealthy people, they got it through building something and some type of business. And from real estate to computers to software to, Jeff Bezos, the richest man in the world, he built it through the internet, and there's been so many different strategies, and as the world technologically evolves, there's always going to be new strategies, like the next thing, the next big thing will always be coming along. You take Uber, for example. First time I did an Uber, and it was like, why didn't I think of this? This seems so obvious, right? And I could have thought of it, and props I would have if I'd been in a different generation and a younger person.
Right.
One thing I always encourage people to do is, as you go along, don't get too greedy, in the sense you should be taking some off the table. It's like a poker metaphor. It's always good you start out with a stake, eventually, if you're doing well, you pull out the stake, and then some, and then you're just playing on your winnings in a way. So if catastrophe occurs, you're still a winner.
Right.
And I have always done that with Whole Foods. I have gradually and steadily sold stock we went public in 1992. That was the first time I sold any, but I probably gradually sold it all the way up through the Amazon acquisition a year ago. And also, I really believe in the philosophy of, I think I initially picked this up when I read a book called The Richest Man in Babylon. And The Richest Man in Babylon, one of the principles is pay yourself first. So basically, take at least 10% out of your paycheck and put it away and invest it, and you don't touch it. It's just you're going to let it compound and grow over a long period of time. And that's not that hard to do once you get in the habit of it, because it doesn't really change your style of your lifestyle, because you used to live on 10% less than you're making, and you did fine. And so there's a bad habit of people tending to, as their salary ratchets up, they just ratchet up their lifestyle. And I don't think you should ratchet up your lifestyle. I think you should, and we see this in cultures that are wealthy cultures, that the Chinese, for example, are very good at saving. The Jewish faith has been also put an emphasis on saving and investing. And that's just a lifestyle habit to not, in America we tend to go for flashy cars or big screen televisions or the latest, hottest new iPhone or whatever. We're out there chasing the Teslas and I just always believe that you should be about creating lasting wealth, and that's through being reasonably frugal and saving and investing. And that's the proven over and over and over and over again strategy to create and maintain wealth. And if you're 24 years old and you've created Facebook, then this is not you don't have to worry about this. But that's a very small percentage of the people that hit that type of jackpot in their lifetime. It's 100 people maybe. Out of 7.5 billion or 8 billion. I think it's better to, whatever you're doing, save the money, invest it, and then keep doing it your whole life, and you will become a millionaire and potentially very wealthy by the time you reach late middle age.
Speaking of Whole Foods and investing, I remember back after Whole Foods went public and one opened up in my town near where I grew up, Ridgewood, New Jersey. And I remember they had a direct traffic in and out of that parking lot when it first opened. It was just so busy. And my mother called me up saying, you got to buy Whole Foods stock. And at the time I had an E-Trade account, and I'm like, I think it was like $25 a share or something. And I said, it looks like all the growth is already priced into it. I'm not seeing it, which just shows I'm not a stock picker. That's why it's not my
I'm on the board of directors of the Motley Fool. And that has been really good for me because I've made a ton of money through basically following their stock advice. And their basic stock advice is the best companies always look fully priced. or overvalued.
Yeah.
But I mean, Amazon's gone up 200x since it did its initial public offering. Microsoft's gone up even more because it's had a longer time to compound. And in no time, I mean, maybe once or twice in their histories, after a big market washout, did they buy, you could say that's a really good value. Problem is when you have that kind of market wipeout, everybody's too scared to invest because maybe we're going into a Great Depression. And so it's just better to realize if you get a great company, you just buy it and hold it and let the compounding work. And here's the thing, you'll have some duds. I actually own 136 stocks. I counted them up recently.
Wow.
And I mean, every year I sell off a dozen or so that for tax loss harvesting because they were duds.
Right.
They didn't work out. But the ones that do work out, they go 5x, 10x, 20x. And just one or two of those pays for all the other losers you'll ever have. And they just continue to compound. And they're compounding tax-free. You're not having to pay capital gains taxes on those stocks as they work their magic. So I diversified. I realized, of course, in hindsight, that if I had kept all of my money in Whole Foods, never sold any shares, I'd be far wealthier than I am today. Because Whole Foods just did so well since we created it. We were a 30x gainer since our IPO to the sale in over 25 years. However, remember, I bought when we had I got almost all my shares when the company was $45,000, and I had 10,000 of the 45,000. That's up 1,000x. So I was just prudent in the sense that I kept taking money off the table, and it's done well on my other investments. But it would have been foolish for me to keep all the money in Whole Foods for all those years, because what would be more horrible? You do something for 40 years. At one time you're worth, hundreds of millions of dollars, and then, or maybe $1 billion, and then it comes crashing down. You'd probably blow your brains out. You'd be so depressed. So I never did that. I was always more prudent, I suppose.